Mr. Homeschool.
Hi, Mr. Homeschool here. So today's lesson is going to be all about helicopters. Hey, so I'm here with Owen with Independent Helicopters at Stewart International Airport. Thanks for having us, Owen.
Oh, well, thank you for being here.
All right, Owen, can you please show us this helicopter?
Sure, why not? So of course this is the nose. You got your lights, you got your landing lights here, you got your directional lights on the side, so you got your red and your green. Where's the green? There it is. Panel is blue, but that's green. Your main skids, right? You have your skids. And as you go back, you have inside here is the engine, so you can look inside here. You can open this up. Inside here is the engine.
Wow.
So actually the engine's back there. The engine. So the engine goes through all here. You got your belts that connect to the main rotor mast as well as the rest of the transmission, right? You have your fuel tanks, and then you get further back into your tail boom, which goes all the way back with your antennas for your radios. Back here. This is all pretty much hollow, right? Just
Yeah, it sounded like it.
It's just steel, and then you get this is your tail rotor, right? To stop it from spinning. That gives you control. And then this is also to protect people from not walking into the blade as it spins. It's turning.
Oh, yeah,
it's
that's
a little
scary.
reminder. Okay. Which then these are, your little linch pins that do the control arms, right? Which then control it. Which also, this is a control too, right? These are connected to your pedals. Right?
Oh.
Okay. Then go back. This light will turn on as soon as that engine starts. Right before that engine starts, right? It starts beeping. That's with any aircraft, right? And that is the main. You got your main rotor as well as your tail rotor.
All right, come on, look here.
Sure. Okay. So what we have is all of our instruments, right? Because we can't just look out the window and see if we're guess how high we are or how far we are from places. So we have, starting from over here, actually starting from the top here, these are all the warning lights. So these would warn us if something's wrong with the helicopter as we're flying. And then this also tells us if we're slowly going down or slowly going up. See, it says up or down, right? It's your vertical airspeed indicator. This is your attitude indicator, which tells you the attitude of the helicopter. So if you're pitching too forward, too back, or too right, or too left, right? And then this is your inclinometer. This is sort of tells you if you're going not directly into the wind, or if you're skidding, or if you're slipping into the wind. So you're not basically facing into the wind. This ball will either move to the left or to the right. This is your airspeed indicator, which then will tell you obviously your airspeed. This is in knots though. You do have a miles per hour as well in the small ring, but this is you usually pay attention to the knots. This is your RPMs for your engine as well for the rotor. So E for engine, R for rotor. And they both go hand in hand, so they have to be equally together as you fly. This is also your altimeter. This is called a sensitive altimeter because you can adjust it, you see. So we listen to the tower to give us the air pressure of what air pressure we are at the time, and then you set your altimeter so that you have the accurate altitude showing, and you do that throughout your flight if you're going from far distances. And then you also have your manifold pressure, which is very important because we go by pressure, we don't go by RPMs when we're looking at the engine as well. So we want to be in a good pressure for the engine, which is usually just below 20 for depending on temperature as well as as air pressure and density, this can change, but most of the time for taking off, you want to be either in the 20s or just below. You can redline it. You can, depending on, again,
is that bad?
Again, redlining is not very good. Obviously, red is not good, but you can be for taking off in certain circumstances. You can get close to that red. Again, you got some more lights for if there's any issues with the helicopter, right? Fuel filter, exhaust fuel pump. Your governor is basically the ones the thing that helps you maintain your rotor RPMs, which is a switch on which I will get to at a point here. And we have, again, your gauges. You have your oil pressure, your oil temperature, and your cylinder temperature, which goes hand in hand with this, right? So you want everything into the green. You don't want anything in the yellow or red, right?
Yeah.
Time is everything. Your rotor brake is this up here, and so when everything's on, this light will show on if the rotor brake is on. You have your clutch for the belts. As the clutch expands, it's an expanding clutch, which expands the two wheels with the belts on them that then eventually connect your engine to the rotor system. This is, of course, your magnetic compass, which gives you a basic direction. It's not supposed to be incredibly accurate, but it does give you your heading at least. Then you have your radios here. Your radio, this is also a radio and a GPS. And then your transponder. And your transponder sort of lets all the towers and ATC, which are air traffic controllers, know who you are and what you're doing. Then if you go back to, let's see, we'll go to the cyclic here, right? So if you take off the friction.
Is this the wheel?
This is basically, so if you push this forward, you're gonna lean forward. If you push this back, you're gonna bend backwards like this.
So in the pilot seat, you're holding both of these at the same time?
No. So since this is in instructor mode, I guess.
Or
co-pilot mode, right? So if I was flying somebody who didn't know how to fly, I would take off the pedals and I'd take this out.
Oh.
And I can also take off the collector. So then there would be no controls that they can touch.
Got it.
But let's say you were a student, I could say your controls, and you'd say my controls, and I'd say your controls 3 times, and then I would let you have the controls.
Oh, cool.
Okay, and so this is basically forward, back, your bank, right? Bank left and right on this. So your turning is your anti-torque pedals, which are down here. So then you basically push to the direction you want to go. So if the helicopter is turning too much to the right, I can then push to the left. And then if the helicopter is turning too much to the left, I push to the right. And that basically gives you your heading, right? Then you have your collective. So your collective is the handle here. This can come up and down. So here, let me take this off and put the frictions off. So this goes up and down along with left and right. This is the throttle for the engine. So you throttle up and down, and this gives you your up and down so if you want to go up in altitude or down in altitude, you want to push up and down.
So that's controlling the top rotor then?
Yes. And this does too, but this does all at once. So this controls the rotors simultaneously. Right? And this will do one at a time as it goes across, right? So yeah, and this is your governor switch, which then keeps that rotor RPM in the green as you go along. So then you don't necessarily have to have your hand on the throttle all the time. It'll keep that throttle level as you go. This is your push to talk for your radios. This does actually have hydraulics because it's an R44. So this would, and it's hydraulics for this, and I believe also for the pedals. But so this would actually become very loose once you put the hydraulics on. But when you take them off, they're pretty stiff.
Yeah.
And again, frequency changes. You can change frequency, and that would be all, I think, on this one. And that is pretty much everything in the cockpit.
Is there a musical radio?
Too bad. No. No. You'd have to bring that one along with you.
Okay. Notice, Owen, that you as a pilot are on the right side. Is that where you're supposed to be right now as a pilot?
Yes. So pilots in helicopters will fly on the right side. Co-pilots are usually on the left, and usually for most flights, that's the way we fly. And so I've heard, anyways. For airplanes, fixed wing, it's the opposite.
Oh, so it's the normal left side driver.
And that's,
Cool.
Hey, so what's this random string for?
Well, it just looks like a piece of yarn, which that's exactly what it is. And it's called trim strings. Again, it tells you if you're going head on into the wind or if you're offset from the wind. So that helps you. So if you're not going into the wind, if you're going slightly to the left or to the right into the wind, these will go either to the left or to the right. And it'll tell you if you're not heading into the wind, which even in a helicopter, just like an airplane, you need to go head on into the wind as best you can as you fly.
Cool. So simple, but effective. Okay, so Owen, so in simple terms, how exactly does a helicopter get off the ground and fly?
Well, okay, so the main rotors create all the lift, right? So these are the main rotors. Yeah, for this helicopter, there's two, and these create all the lift and pick up the helicopter. Okay? So besides the airfoil, which creates lift, it also will feather too as well. So feathering is when the blades actually pitch. And depending on the pitch of the blades, it's not actually how they don't get faster. It's they get more of a pitch for more lift. So as you pull up on the collective, which I showed you, the pitch of the blades get greater, and as they get greater, they create more lift and pull the helicopter up. Now the issue with that is then the torque becomes greater. So what happens is then the tail rotor has to also create more of a pitch to create a force on it to go against the turning, the torque of that main rotor blade. And therefore, as we pull up on the collective, we're also pushing down on the left pedal in order to keep that helicopter from spinning around with all that power of the torque through that main rotor mass. That creates all the lift. Then the helicopter goes up. And at that point, you're in the air, but now you need to go forward, right? So how does the helicopter go forward? Well, you're changing the lift. You're changing the direction of the lift of the helicopter. So instead of now putting all the lift straight down, you're shifting it so that it pushes everything forward just slightly, right? And therefore, and as you go faster through cleaner air, and you're getting rid of all that crazy wind that you're creating, the cleaner the air that comes through the main rotors, the more lift you get. And eventually the helicopter almost helps itself as it goes up. That's the faster it goes.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you need a runway in order to land this thing?
No, you don't. As long as there's room for the rotors, and again, you're accounting for the room for the rotors and also takeoff. So you can do what we call off-airport landings, which can include fields, front yards, backyards, and it could be anything that at least has enough room where we can take off and land in, and enough room for the rotor blades to fit without too much feedback from trees or anything else around.
Yeah.
And again, but that also, you know, we need permission from the owner of the property as well.
Yeah.
And other things. But yes, we can pretty much land in anywhere that we want.
I mean, I've seen land strips on the top of like hospitals, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so what makes a helicopter different than an airplane?
Well, obviously, the real difference is that these rotors are the equivalent of a wing, right? And so instead of moving forward and creating that air over the wing, we are just spinning it around fast in order to, as fast as it can go to create lift. And that is our wing. So an airplane has to move forward in order to create lift. But for a helicopter, you don't actually have to move forward to create lift. You can actually be in one spot. That's the real big difference between a helicopter and an airplane.
Cool. All right, so on average, how high and how fast do these helicopters go?
Well, it all depends on how fast these rotor blades spin.
Right.
So how high? These usually go up to a height of 14,000 feet.
Wow.
But that all depends on temperature, air density, and as well as a lot of other conditions. So they usually never reach their max. It's not a very good idea. Again, helicopters are made to go low and slow. As far as speed goes, again, speed is another thing, is how fast do these rotor blades spin? Because if you think about it, one rotor blade, in flight, one rotor blade is moving into the wind, and then one rotor blade is moving away from the wind.
Yeah.
So once you get to the point where you're moving faster than the air on one side than the other, eventually what happens is it's called retreating blade stall, where the retreating blade that's coming behind the helicopter, it no longer creates lift, and therefore then it stalls. And at that point, then you don't. Eventually, at that point, then before that you get a whole bunch of vibrations. But if you hit that point, you actually do stall and have to do a whole bunch of things to maintain being in the air. But that's
Okay, so on average, how fast do these go, like in knots?
This one in particular, on average, you can cruise at about 90 to 100 knots.
Wow, that's fast.
And for the smaller one, you'd want to go a little slower, obviously, because the max speed is at the top max, depending again on weather and everything else. It goes up to about 112. But then before you get into, as I said, retreating blade stall.
That's great. That's fast.
But again, where it's low and slow, that's what helicopters are for there. That's what they do. They're very low and slow.
Okay, so I see all these different helicopters. What's the purpose of all of them?
Well, these ones are for training, essentially training. They can be used for tours, but the tours usually are for the four-seaters, which are the R44s. These are the R22s. So these are essentially for training purposes. The bigger one here, the Jet Ranger, this is used mainly for higher end jobs. Usually companies will have them, will hire them out to fly over either power lines or survey different areas of their property or buildings or whatever they want to survey, I guess. And then again, the R44 is, they can be for tours or cities tour the city or anywhere else that you want to go. That's usually again used for and as well as training.
Are they ever used for like search and rescue missions or like emergency things like that?
This kind would be more of a search and rescue.
Okay.
I believe it has more of a time in the air. it's more powerful. You can,
Oh, it lasts longer in the air.
It should
So,
last
oh,
longer
okay.
in the air. We can use the 44, but as far as search and rescue, it would be this kind more.
Okay.
Again, if you're going to be lifting somebody out of an area, you're going to need more power.
Oh.
You know, these only have maybe a couple hundred horsepower. This class of helicopter will have, you know, in the range of 1,000 horsepower.
All right, well, thank you so much, Owen, for having us and showing us around. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you. I got to go now. Bye, Mr. Homeschool.
Hey, thanks for coming with us to learn all about helicopters, and thank you to Owen and Independent Helicopters for having us. And if you're interested in a flight school or booking a destination tour in upstate New York, I will leave the link and information about Independent Helicopters in my description. I tell you a joke about a helicopter, but I'm afraid it would just go over your head. And I just want to give a quick shout out to some fan art I received. I received this picture of Mr. Homeschool from Reg. Thank you so much. It looks so good. Thank you. So hey, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more things like this, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. And as always, thank you and God bless you.
Mr. Homeschool.